I will do, it is
7:02.
7:02 p.m. and we will, Marshall, do you want to do roll call to establish quorum? Do you want to
Yep.
do it that way?
Let's do it. Now, these are the people who are here.
Yes, we need to do here,
Okay,
and then we
so-
can include remotes.
Okay, here we have Erica Jacobson.
Here.
Okay. Linda Allen.
Yep.
Frank Visconti.
Here.
And Marshall Jesperson are here.
So,
And then remote, we have Tom Howard.
No, he's Tom Cuff.
Hello, Tom.
Tom, you here?
Hello.
Okay,
Yes.
got him. Okay. And we have Joe. Do we have Joe on?
Okay. Present.
Okay.
Excellent.
Joe Lee. Okay. Anybody else?
No, there should be no one else on the Zoom because the Zoom is only for them to attend.
Okay.
For us, we have to, in order to, due to geography, tonight's meeting, we have two who are participating remotely. The camera is here and this will be what is being recorded. There is what will go online and be the official record.
Okay.
Okay.
They are here to be heard and seen, but we have to have quorum in the room in order
Right.
to have any members of our board
Yeah.
participate remotely.
Yeah.
So that's how we have to work now.
Okay, in that case, we probably don't have to do this disclaimer that we have to do for
We
the.
don't need to do that.
Okay.
No, no, for tonight, all we need to do is if for any votes we take, they need to be roll call votes so
Yep.
that we can then have the people on the phone have their, or on Zoom, have their recorded as well,
Okay.
that
That
we've heard
makes
that.
sense.
So, yes. So,
Uh-oh. Your internet connection
Yes.
is unstable.
that's all right, we'll go
Great.
with it. We do have tech support in the house tonight, so they've helpfully,
Thank God.
very nice to get this all set up for us. So, public comment. To receive oral communications from members of the public, members of the public may address the Finance Committee for up to 3 minutes, longer with the permission of the chair. The Finance Committee will not engage in discussion on topics raised during public comment, but may choose to add the topic to a future agenda. This agenda, actually I have to turn on the recording here. Yes.
Recording in progress.
The Finance Committee will not engage in discussion on topics raised during public comment, but may choose to add the topic to a future agenda. This agenda segment will be limited to 15 minutes unless the time is extended at the discretion of the chair. So we will now open for public comment. We have Jim here.
Jim Moran.
Jim Moran,
Please state your name and
Yep.
address and you may start.
104 Elm Street, Byfield. I wanted to address 3 items regarding Triton Regional District and 1 town item. The first item for Triton is the facility assessment. The total cost from last September was $62 million. That was inflated at 4%. If we inflate it to 6%, it goes up to $68 million. If the state pays half of that, the district pays half, and 34 million is financed over 30 years at 3%, that's 1.7 million per year. Newbury's share at 30% will be 500,000 a year. The second item is our long-term liabilities.
Quick question on, since I'm taking notes on what you're doing. So that's the money for either refurbishing or rebuilding
Right.
Triton Regional High School
Right.
and junior high?
Yes,
Okay,
on
thank you.
Elm Street, yes. The second item is our long-term liabilities, and this information is based on the FY20 audit. That audit indicated that our OPEBs and pensions now total $125 million. The breakdown is 112 for the OPEBs and 13 million for the pensions. From FY17, it started at 49 million, in 18 it was 90 million, and in 18 it was 90 million, in 19 it was 99 million, and FY20 was 125. The 21 audit is due this month. The third item is the budget. Current budget, operating budget for FY '23 is $47 million. That's $1.5 million more than last year. I suggest no increase to their budget this year. To leave it the same and have them operate on $46 million. I believe the cost increases need to stop for a year. Costs need to be reduced. Scopes on all services need review. Scopes on contracted services need review. Grant money will most likely be decreasing in future years. The number of people within each school administration area needs to be reduced. If you take Newbury Elementary School, with classes ranging from 14 to 19 students, very small student classes. About half of the staff at the elementary school is for special education. At what point do some parents take some of the burden and get their kids some help? Is it all the responsibility of the district, or should that be shared more so with the parents?
Rick, 3 minutes.
Am I allowed a little more time?
You can do an extension of 2 minutes.
Okay,
You're the
thank you.
only one here.
In summary, I think the financial picture needs to be examined very closely, starting with audits. Teachers' contracts need to be reviewed, and quite frankly, 70 pages long, I believe they need to be revised. Spending is out of balance with revenues. Balance needs to be restored. State funding has flatlined for 20 years. This needs to be turned around. Part of the solution is this group here, the Finance Committee. Taxpayers need to be better protected. Total budget needs to be in accordance with government activities. Example is that, according to the FY '20 audit, they had revenues of $56 million, with expenses of $64 million, an $8 million deficit for that year. The average for the prior 7 years has been $6 million deficit in the school systems. This is somewhat astounding, and the question might be, who's paying for this? How is this being handled? I believe that should be clarified and brought to the surface by the district to the 3 communities. I believe the Finance Committee is a very strong and influential group. You can affect change. Thank you for that. My last question is do we have an operating budget for Newbury ready for publication yet, or is it in draft form?
That's a question
for Tracy.
for Tracy.
Because if we get brought in once that's ready, and we have,
Do you expect her to be back in here after?
she will be.
Okay, I'm gonna go in the other meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Jim.
You're
Thank you,
quite
Jim.
welcome.
I do want to, just for public record, Jim, I know you brought up the question of the audits and that deficit. I would like people to refer to the district communications meeting, in which case Brian Forget expressed the difference between the audited numbers that include that deficit you're talking about is because it's different than how it is funding from the budget. And I would ask everybody to also look back to that explanation from Brian Forget at the superintendent from the last DCC meeting, because that was addressed as the difference between audits of the statements and operating budgets.
I agree it was addressed, but I believe more people have to understand what that means. On one piece of paper, which that audit shows it on, it breaks it down into revenue and expenses. There's a breakdown of 15
But
items.
it's not
It's-
how we pay for it, so it's not of our purview. An
I
audit,
guess an obvious question is, how does it get paid for? My understanding is it's paid for the long-term liabilities. and
We
the
can't
auditors have
discuss
said
how
very
that-
clearly, these are real liabilities. We can either accept that.
the
Or-
budget set forth by the school committee and put to us, we then bring to, we form an opinion on, we see if we fund it, and it ultimately gets voted by the townspeople at each town meeting of the 3 towns of Triton.
Right.
I understand. I also understand Rowley has sent out a letter indicating.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, you too.
You're welcome. Anytime, Jim.
Also, I do have our handouts for this evening.
I think I printed it.
You may have printed some of them out. I
Yeah.
printed out the agenda just in case anybody needed it, and also some of the, I can't also see what, if people are BCC'd, I don't know who got what when, so I brought copies for
Really,
those
I'm
here.
shocked, little girl.
So, first item on our agenda is to review and approve the meeting minutes from the February 1 meeting.
Yep.
I thought they looked okay. I didn't see anything there.
Oh. Yeah, I had no edits to it.
I didn't have any.
I would make a motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
I'll second.
Okay.
I beat him.
Okay, wait a minute.
Okay.
Comments, corrections? Hearing none, we'll take a vote, and I'm going to do a roll call. So, Erica?
Approved.
Okay, Linda?
Approved.
Frank? Approve. I'll approve them myself as Marshall. Tom?
Yes.
Okay. Joe?
Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, just so you know, sometimes you guys fade out, so if we don't answer, it's because we lose the,
Okay.
Yeah,
We'll speak up for you.
same thing here, thanks, Tom.
Thank you for bearing with it.
Ah, come on. Okay, I wish I had had
So,
these things earlier.
the next is that we do have the monthly revenue report. Tracy will be joining us if we do have questions about financial statements, but she did send out for the December 31st recaps and year-to-year comparison for revenue reports. She has told me that there is nothing off kilter or worrisome in any of these. And I didn't know if anybody had any, we get these on a quarterly,
Yeah.
and we are working, I guess, with one of the someone in the accounting is out on maternity leave, so there is some delays in getting these. So if I get them within the 48 hours, I can't post them and distribute them.
Yep.
I mean, what's
So.
going on there? I mean, it doesn't look like there's anything out of kilter, if you will.
Revenues are running slightly ahead
It's a good thing.
of last year.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Look at the excise tax. That's good. Wow.
Well,
That really looks good. Wow.
the motor vehicle excise tax?
Yeah. 1.102 million as opposed to 220.
No, that's.
That's a recap. Oh, sorry.
That's it, yeah.
I was reading it back.
You're getting excited.
I know, I'm getting excited over nothing.
Okay.
But still,
Yes. Some of these all come in at the same time.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Yeah.
they
When
don't
people
spread
write
them
the check, it's
at
just-
all.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like the boat excise tax, okay, we're on
That's-
101% collected of what is gonna happen for the year.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh,
And the excise tax is just the first.
We haven't gotten anything in the payment in lieu of taxes,
No.
Right.
so.
And there are some years where it comes in off that we get
Yeah.
a double payment one year and no payment the next, depending on what the federal government's doing for the
But
pieces
we're-
or state.
We're not out of whack. I mean, we got 48% of what we think we should have and
Right.
50% of the year.
Right.
So, that looks,
Not bad.
that looks good.
I mean, we're only, how many months into the year? Not that many.
No, this is
Should be-
this fiscal year.
Right.
Fiscal year.
This report is as of December.
Right.
So that's half the year.
Half the year.
Yeah. It's not that bad. I mean, what the heck?
Any other comments, questions for us to cover a lot?
Not on the short, not the monthly revenue report for December. It's also December.
It looks so sad.
And there are no reserve fund transfers or anything like that.
I haven't seen
That-
anything.
Nothing. And as Tracy is in the select board's meeting, we'll kind of flip-flop some order here too if we have questions. Um,
Let's, let's hold the longer department expenditure report till she gets out.
Yep,
Okay.
sounds good. In terms of committee reports, I'll give the DCC, which is super quick, which is, we had a meeting and just with the 3 towns 2 weeks ago, we saw the high water mark budget. It was the same budget we saw earlier that came to us. There was no discussion other than just a presentation of the budget. There also, I'll say that I attended the public hearing at the night before, and there were no parents, the only town member that was in attendance was Mr. Moran, and he asked a question about those audits as well there. And other than that, there was no pushback or questions from parents or residents about the school budget from any member of any town as of the DCC meeting. There had been
Wow.
nothing received in writing,
That's
via
excellent.
email and nothing.
That's great.
Yes. There was also a meeting earlier that week about the mask mandate being lifted the night before, and that was via Zoom, and there were lots of parents, but with opinions on that, but there were no opinions on the budget, so.
Good.
So that's what's going on there.
I don't think 5% is going to get anybody off the couch.
Sorry?
5 points. I mean, I can't think of anything that hasn't gone up more than 5 points. in the
No.
past system.
Right.
And there are, in the budget, there are some, half of FTE of reading specialists, a half FTE of math specialists, a lot of those things being done to combat some of the learning challenges of the last 2 years. So a well thought out plan on a number of strategic initiatives. So that is resting with the school committee at this point in time.
Okay.
Show us that phone. What the heck? Did we lose him?
No, it's just
No.
he turned his camera off,
Oh.
so it just goes to that.
Yeah, so I can hear you better.
All right,
Really doesn't make sense.
it's okay, whatever works.
And Marshall, CPC,
CPC, we have some minutes, which.
yes, they are in the packet.
They're in the
We have-
packet, okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
the minutes are in the packet.
So let me go through what we've got here and what it means. Frank, having been a member of that committee,
I was indeed.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
it's okay. It's just early meetings.
It was
So,
fun in the beginning.
yeah.
like most things.
Interesting.
We've got a number of things that will come to us, and so I've listed them out. The construction of an archive and squad room, archive room and squad room for Newbury Police Station came up. There's a need for secure record storage, and so they're
Yeah.
going up in the attic of this, and they need space for people to be able to spend the night
Yeah.
or off time during periods of really inclement weather if they are going to be required to be on duty.
Yeah.
So those are the two things. One of the questions came up was, how come that was not part of the initial
Yeah.
requirement for the police station?
Yeah.
And I think they thought it was going to be in some other part of the police station, but one of the things that did not make it through.
What did they do prior to the construction of the police station in such an instance?
They had what used to be the old hall in Town Hall we could use,
Yeah.
but it was, that's what they had. And they had storage downstairs. So we had talked about that. And for us, well, let me explain the scoring
Yes.
for those who don't know. There's a number of, I should have brought one of the, oh, I did bring one of the forms, here it is. Okay, so, the classifications have a score range. So if it's mandatory, it gets 10 points. Maintenance is 7 points, roughly. Improved efficiency is 5, and a new service is 2, okay? Priority goes from very high to low, 10 to 0. The range starts from 10, goes to 0 on all of these.
Yeah.
Expected life, 20 years or more, is a 10, which tends to bump things up. 10 to 19 goes to 5. You can basically
Yeah.
go from a half a point a year. Works pretty well. Effect on operating and maintenance costs. And so a reduced cost gives you a 10, an increased cost gives you a 2, unchanged is in the middle of the 5. Effect on the town's revenue, if it increases revenue, that's good, that's a 10. Revenue's unchanged, you're in the middle at 5, decreases revenue, you're at 2. And availability of state or federal grant money, if no score, we get a 0. If none is available, we get a 0. That's how they all score out. Then we take the scores, we add them up, and we put them here. So the highest score would be a high priority or long-lived or both. Okay, so that's why when we look at the construction of the archive room, the score is 38. But that comes because of the fact that we have a very high useful life. So, that's how the scoring goes. Then we look at it and say what we want to do with it. The replacement of the admin cruiser is this is something we built into the plan years ago.
Yeah.
We do one a year,
Yeah.
generally.
That makes sense with the number of miles that they put on them.
Yeah. The deployable solar, and we can get a lot of money for the used ones now. So they've got.
Marshall?
Yeah.
Can you move the mic a little bit closer to you, because we're getting about every third word. Yeah.
Okay, I'll speak up and we'll go, it's close enough, I'll just speak up. So, when we did the examination, the construction for the records archive room and squad room for Newbury Police Station, $45,000, we scored it at 38, and part of that was because of the fact that it lives forever, okay, which gives that a mark. The replacement of the administrative cruiser is a programmed replacement. It's part of the capital plan. That scored 26. The police department said we'd like to have deployable solar-powered radar signs, and we're seeing more and more of those around. Chief Lucy commented that these signs have been effective in other municipalities in, as he called it, calming traffic.
Yeah, we need one of those on our part of Central Street.
And so the signs, they are self-contained, can be moved to different locations as the need dictates. They also record traffic speed, and the time of traffic. So then they can be downloaded via Bluetooth, so somebody can go next to them with a computer, the police can, and download when that is happening. They get a fair amount of data from that. They also wanted 3, that scored 22, and that was $12,000, so 3,000 apiece.
That's not that bad.
We looked at the life of those, and the life did not seem to correspond to what we know about solar collectors, and it turned out that the life is actually the battery, not the solar collector.
Oh.
So they took the lowest of the lives and scored it that way. Same thing with the solar-powered crosswalk signs, which would be on Plum Island. They're a little cheaper, but they would have 3 of those. They want, this is almost a throwaway, I think actually the gas-powered trash pump, I think we should take off of there because it's under our threshold. I forgot to, our threshold is $1,000.
Oh,
So
okay.
it shouldn't be
That's
there. The laptop for the harbor master, what they want to be able to do is catch you on the water and see whether you have a real, if you have a real license to be there. If your license has expired or your sticker hasn't expired, they want to be able to check that and give you a ticket.
Wow.
And usually they do that at the docks. They will
Yeah.
go through the docks and pick up all of that pretty quickly. So that was something, they do not have a computer now, but they wanted to check on boat registrations in real time and able to issue citations. There might be an income component to this request, but it's really not factored into our scoring of the request because we think it would be small.
Yeah.
Replacement truck for the Shellfish Constable. Right now, he's got a truck that was an excess from the DPW. And evidently, when the DPW got rid of it, there wasn't much life left in it, and there's less life left in it now.
Shocking.
So this was an F-150 Ford that would replace that.
How much did we just spend on that Ford truck?
The Ford truck would be $30,000, which is pretty inexpensive.
Yeah.
No, did
No,
we just spend like 2,500 to fix that thing?
4,500, I thought it was for repairs.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Was
yeah,
the,
they just dumped a bunch of money into repairs.
yeah,
Right.
it was the emergency repairs from, it was the reserve fund transfer,
Yep.
which I have here in my notes.
Somewhere.
from the
That was
last-
when?
That was in the fall.
Okay.
Does
And I
the truck-
didn't hear, how many crosswalks were they, lighted crosswalks were they looking to buy?
Three
3.
Where are
crosswalks,
they going?
all on Plum Island.
Are people getting hit on Plum Island?
I would really
Am
like,
hearing?
hopefully they would rethink that and maybe move one of those to Hanover Street for the school.
That makes a lot of
Oh,
It's
yeah.
sense.
really,
Yeah,
it's really dangerous, those kids crossing Hanover Street from one side of the street to get to that school.
yeah.
It just makes more sense to me to have one of those at Hanover Street before we put 3 of them on Plum Island.
Yeah.
Makes even more sense in light of the fact that when we did have a police officer helping out over there, a selectman went into the principal's office to complain about use of public police force. So
Why?
it is important.
I'm not opposed to them buying them, I'm just thinking
Yeah,
of where
you're
we
right.
can locate them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I have a question about, I mean,
Yep.
trying not to be in a negative light, I have real questions about every single thing we've talked about.
Okay.
However,
Yep.
I don't know if it's right to pose them to you, Marshall, because you were there, or is this something that
Well,
the parties who are coming
No.
hat in hand to you should be
Th-
speaking to us?
this is, you know what, let's
I
talk
mean, it's up
about
to
it.
you, I'm not saying,
Yeah.
Hey,
you know.
no, this is where we do it, so, let's go ahead.
Uh-oh.
All right, well.
Are we in trouble?
No,
Well, no, I mean, let's just run through the beginning, and
Yeah, sure.
it might be that Marshall has the answers for these, but if he doesn't, I'm sure he'll say that he doesn't. I mean, I don't, what are we archiving in this $45,000 room? Are these archives not all different, or is this an evidence room? What are we archiving?
okay. I don't know.
Okay, because I mean, if it's paperwork, that's digitally archived, that's, you can store more data than that police station will ever generate in a millennia
Yeah.
on the head of a pin, right?
Yeah.
So what is it that we're spending $45,000 on?
I will get
don't
that, I will get that information.
And then a bunk room as the other part of it, like, okay, is there prior bunk room at town hall? Is that, or have we just shut the doors on town hall and we're saying that no one shall pass, or what,
I don't know.
what
That's a
happened?
good question.
And again, I just think it's a hard sell.
Yep,
Or if there's an alternative at the fire station, which is also next door,
Right.
which might also have,
They must have.
For a
That's,
once in a, for
They
unless
must have-
twice in a decade
Yeah.
event that people just cannot get home and they
Right,
need to be there.
yeah.
yep,
So I have questions about that. The administrative cruiser, that's on a plan, I get that, that's always been in place,
Yep.
and you're right, they get good trade-ins now.
yeah.
So the delta's not so bad.
Yeah,
The radar signs, I don't understand what the data is for. You said they could download data via Bluetooth. What is the data for? Does that mean we put a crew, okay, between 9 and 11 a.m. we get the most speeders, so if we put a cruiser here, we can write the most tickets? Is that the data? I don't understand what that is.
that is the data, you know, I looked at it and said, what do we get? And the chief wrote back and said, we get speed, when the time is, the percentage of people who are over the speed limit.
Gotta write a lot of tickets, cover 12 grand up.
Yep,
That's just my knee-jerk reaction. Again, and maybe that is the case. Maybe they were writing a ton of tickets that I don't know about. The solar powered crosswalk signs, I think that.
I do know that we see them in different spots. Elm Street is one of the spots where we see them on a regular basis.
I
Yeah,
wish we'd see them on Central Street, my God.
you know, again, there could be a whole
Yep.
slew of data that I'm just not aware of.
Yeah.
And I'll say the same thing about the crosswalk signs. Maybe people are getting hit and getting stacked like cordwood down in Plum Island that I don't know about. I haven't heard anything about it.
There's been a lot of citizens' complaints
Okay.
about the crosswalks
I
at
would
Plum
think
Island.
so.
All right.
I would think so.
So that part came from citizens, and I think your point on Hanover Street
Yeah, I think Hanover Street
Hanover
is a good
Street,
idea.
is
I
a
really
great
do.
idea.
Yeah, Hanover
figuring-
Street's a great idea, because we've
Hanover.
had to put police there on multiple occasions, and people have gotten bent up about it.
I just can't hear you.
So I think.
We've
I
had to
think
put
that's
police
right.
at Hanover Street at the school crossing
Yeah,
a lot of times, and
so this
people-
could be a cheap solution, that's a
Yeah.
fiscally, it makes sense.
Because the
You're right,
only
you're right, I'm agreeing with you,
Yeah.
is the net of all that.
Yeah, the only sidewalk on that street is on the opposite side from the school.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is where we want traffic to be walking, and then we do
Right.
want them to be able to cross safely in front of the school.
Right,
And that could
and
be a
stay
good
there.
spot for one of the
One of the-
radar signs.
yeah.
The tough book for the laptop, you know, I was on the Parker River for a decade, I'm on the Merrimack now, if you don't have a sticker, you get a ticket. And then you take your ticket and say, I do have a sticker, I just forgot to put it on, and they go, all right, sorry about that, and they wipe it out. Or you buy your sticker.
Right.
Right.
That's free to the municipality. I'm not sure where a $3,500 laptop makes any bit of difference when the sticker system has worked since time immemorial, but again, maybe there's data that I just don't have.
Yeah.
You know, on the river, no sticker, ticket. It's done. It's really, and then a lot of times it is, oh, I just forgot to put it on. Okay, well, bring your paperwork over to the harbor master shack. Great, they'll sort it out for you, no problem. The Shellfish Constable truck was addressed. I don't know what we repaired for the, what did we figure out the number was? Was it 3,500, 4,500?
I think it's 3,500.
3,500. Did that not render it useful, or are they getting a big trade-in on it, or what's, I don't know. Again, these are questions that I wasn't present.
What they said was the truck had basically come to the end of its useful life. If they were going to keep it, they'd have to put more money into it than it was going to be worth. And
Begs
they
the question,
wanted
why
to-
don't we fix it, but, you know, again.
I did talk to the chief about the truck,
Yep,
and he bought the basic model. From what he told me, they got the best price out there for it, and that even though the repairs on the other truck that have been done, it still is not really roadworthy. And that the harbor master carries a large amount of equipment with him constantly in that truck, and that nothing less than a pickup truck would be suitable for the owner's gear that he carries, especially the shellfish guy that's out there, from what he told me, daily, 365 days a year.
Right. Like I said, and these were genuinely questions, not criticism.
Yeah.
I just don't
No.
know.
no, fine. It was, and they're good questions. Fire department cardiac monitor, that one was one where the present monitor has gone obsolete, so they don't have replacement parts for it.
Yep.
It is still working, but if it stops, we can't get it back up and working. So this is basically a replacement for that. That one,
Is it possible that this could fall under the ambulance service at all? Into that revolving fund as a funding source for something like this?
Question.
Because I know that
Should fall under ambulance.
we've been able to do that with tires for those vehicles. If this is something that's used by the ambulance service, would this fall into that
we can,
revolving fund?
we can ask Tracy about
Both the,
where the funding would be.
right, because it sounds like a necessary piece of equipment, but it's,
Yeah.
how can we best support that?
Yep.
It's definitely a very important piece of equipment.
To your point, did we ever figure out if we could roll things retroactively under COVID-related funds?
We have involved with a service that will allow us to evaluate, and if they are, then we can use them. We've been very good, the Board of Selectmen has taken a number of things that haven't even come, because ARPA funds are under a different
Right.
purview, if that's an option, then that's another place to
But that was the
look.
question we had before, we weren't sure if we can do it retroactively. We figured out that we can do it
I
retroactively.
think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on. DPW, refurbishing the Newbury Elementary School roof. This is part of a 5-year plan. we funded it every year. Pretty straightforward. They've been very happy with it. It has been done not by the DPW, but by an outside contractor. Okay?
Yep, that was all part of the initial, that was all part of the plan. was
Yes.
devised.
Yeah.
Replacement of a dump truck with, including plow with a wing plow and spreader, and that was almost our biggest one. We have one more that's larger.
Yeah.
But that's just a replacement for a truck that's 15 years old. And the fact that they make them last that long is, I think, a
That's
testament
amazing.
to what they do. So they do an excellent job. So those are the two for the DPW. Information technology. This $300,000 piece of fiber optic cable connecting all the departments. When I talked to, or when they presented that, they said that really is for future consideration, because it would be good to tie all of the departments and buildings together, but they're not looking for it at this time. We scored it anyway.
Well, if we run out of things to use federal funds on, then they should move up that timeline on that if there's
Yeah.
300K laying around. Because
Yes.
that's not gonna get any cheaper.
No.
And,
Lord, no.
and if we have the funding for it, then it can be rolled
Yeah.
into federal funds, then,
Yep.
right.
Server refresh is just a maintenance item, updated new licenses and current software. Replacement of computers, laptops that have basically reached the end of their useful lives and are getting replaced.
In this, is there any kind of, in terms of the information technology and server, we all know computers and the connectivity that we have today is not going away, so it's much like we did with kind of envelope studies of buildings. Do we have any sort of assessment about the ongoing needs for the town in terms of digital capabilities?
We can bring that gentleman right back in here because he's just next door.
Yeah, that it might be a good,
So,
Matthew?
yes.
Matthew.
Matthew?
He's our IT
Oh.
person, but it's whether or not like we kind of have an ongoing, because there will be capital as there will be operating expenses, depending on how we proceed in terms of cloud-based systems versus hardware, what things, but that supporting of that over time
Yeah.
needs to be kind of a thought-out plan as well. Just like
you have to, you can't just scramble at the end and say, oh yeah, we gotta come up with, $30,000 to replace whatever, the computers or the software or,
Mm-hmm.
so that makes sense to plan ahead.
Yep.
What a shocking thought.
So these things, the ones that we've, like the NES roof, things like that, things that we have a horizon for and we
Yeah.
can understand what the
Yeah,
cadence is, has put us in a better place than having to scramble for a new cruiser.
exactly. No, I thoroughly
So-
agree.
Any other questions? What's the next step on all of these, Marshall?
Okay,
So,
these will go to, well, I'll get back and with questions to the police department and also where are these things going to go. I looked askance at the tough book as well, but we'll go ahead and ask the chief about those and maybe invite him to come to a meeting. Then I think the fire department is just looking at the funding, but I think that's a necessary replacement item.
Absolutely.
I don't have any questions on the stuff from the DPW.
No.
They've been really,
They work their tails off. They really do.
you keep this stuff running a long time. Man, it's amazing. And then we can talk to Matthew about a plan for information technology.
So Mike, you're gonna go get some more information and we're gonna bring it back to the board?
Yep,
Yes,
Okay, so we're gonna vote for it after we get the information?
Yeah,
yes,
yes.
yes.
so.
And we still, at 7:47, we still do not have Tracy. I do have copies, hard copies here of a draft operating budget. Again, we are not at formal budget presentation, but I can hand these out. If any member of the public is looking for a copy of this, they have to request it through Tracy.
Okay, thank you.
We are holding on to the only hard copies here in the room. But it is the quick overview that I got from her on this is that we are at balanced, so revenues meeting expenses
Oh,
in
that's
this
good.
version right now, but it's not final. But we do have just and she is not here, but once she is prepared to give us the formal draft, and we will have a meeting to go through each of it, where the differences are and how they are. At this point in time, she has been in contact with Triton, Whittier, and the Essex North Shore Agricultural Tech Schools for their assessment numbers, and these are, the Triton number is in at the current high water mark budget that the DCC saw, that's been distributed to everybody. Again, that one might come down. School committee's the only one who can bring that down, what they put forth, but they do that. That's part of this process, so that number is in there at the full funding. And she feels good about the Whittier and
Yeah,
And remembering that Whittier and the Essex North Agricultural, those are both just factors of number of students. We have no firsthand say
yeah,
in their overall budget. It's
right,
the amount per student gets charged back.
yeah.
So I saw this for the first time about 5 minutes and didn't even look at it, other than to hold on to it and not let it get into the wrong hands before the meeting.
I'm shocked.
But we will have an extensive meeting with Tracy to go through all of the budget and talk about where there are items. We also are close to having she wants to for a draft warrant for town meeting, looking to be a little shorter, maybe a total of 14 articles, is what
Oh,
she
that
thought
would
at
be
this
nice.
point in time. But other than that, that is all that we have on for old business. Anyone have any new business in front of our?
Do you need a cough or anything?
No, I've got minutes, but it's so dry. I'm so dry. It's awful.
Yeah.
The building where I am all day is so dry in there. It's just terrible.
No.
Better than leaking roofs though.
Any new business from any committee members?
Any new business from you guys?
No. All quiet on the island.
Okay.
I
Excellent.
have nothing.
Okay.
Okay. So,
Motion?
Look at him with his silly grin.
So moved.
Yeah, second.
Okay.
All in
in
favor?
favor? Favor? Erica, yes?
Linda?
Yes.
Okay.